How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Manatee Gaming. Today I'm going to be showing you guys 5 tips to start improving your flips. That way you make more money. So let's jump on into it. Here we go. Alright, so the first tip we're going to be starting off with is adjusting to trends. So if you see something rising or you see something falling, it's definitely a good idea to kind of match your offers to be, what that item is doing. So if I look right here, for example, this is actually everything from yesterday's video with the woodland fox. Here's woodland foxtail and stuff like that. As you can see, I did flip these 135 million to 141.4, which seems like some pretty good profit, and it is really good profit. But here's the thing. The reason why I knew that my woodland fox ears I could offer quite a bit lower and start off with over 6 million as a margin is because I know that the woodland fox ears were dropping in price. I know the same thing for foxtails. That's why I went for a 3.1 million margin to start off with on the foxtails, which is quite a bit for the fact the item is only 21 million. And so what I would do actually with the next offer is I would offer even lower. On these woodland foxtails, I'd probably start with like 20. Woodland fox ears, I'd probably do like 132, 131, something like that. And the reason why is because they are dropping. If you don't pay attention to the fact that an item is rising or an item is falling, then you're just going to end up losing some money. If this item was rising, on the other hand, and I bought these woodland fox ears for 135 and then sold them for 141.4, and these sold pretty quickly, that would make sense because they're rising. So then my next offer, I would be trying to sell these for higher. If these are dropping, I'm not going to try to sell them for higher. I'm just going to try to buy them for lower. So I really hope that makes sense. If you can't find recent prices for an item, which you can, by the way, find the prices for many, many items in our Discord. If you cannot find the recent price for items in order to know what the trend is doing, then you can simply look at the wiki and then look at the graph and see which direction the item is going in. Alright guys, and tip number 2 is going to be to spread out your gold. This is a pretty big one, I have to say. So what happens is a lot of people will look at how much gold they have, and let's say that you have this much right here. You have 883 million, that's how much you've got. A lot of people will try to buy the biggest thing they possibly can with that money because they think that's going to make the most money. And in some cases, then maybe you will be able to flip a very profitable item, but in a lot of cases, it's actually probably not going to be that advantageous. Actually, here's a really great example. If you bought a Nox staff, for example, the Nox staff is a GE price of about 214.5 million, and the average margin on a Nox staff as of right this second is somewhere between 1 and 2 million. So if you're going to spend 214.5 million in one slot in order to make 1 or 2 million profit, what could we consider instead? Well, we could simply look at something like maybe an armadillo piece. So if I look at an armadillo chest plate often has margins of 700,000 or above, and it only costs 10.4 million, which means that I could literally buy about 20 of these for the price of one of those Nox staves, and the margin is almost as good. It's about 50% or maybe actually sometimes the same, because I have seen 1 million margins on the armadillo chest plate. If I got a 1 million margin here, that's pretty close to the margin you'll be getting on a Nox staff, but you'll be spending a lot less money. Where that really matters though is because you have 8 slots in the Grand Exchange. So instead of using 883, for example, let's say you had something that was about 220 million or whatever, you could buy 1 Nox staff in 1 slot, or you could buy 8 items that are like the armadillo chest plate, and instead of making the 1.5 to 2 million, you could make something more like 8 million. Or on the low end, 4 million. So as you can see, no matter what, it's going to be more advantageous and more profitable for you to spend that money and spread it out. Obviously, you need to know what the margins are in items. If you need to know those types of things, we obviously, once again, have all this stuff in our Discord, but you can also just ask in the comments down below and people will probably help you out as well. But the number one way for you to learn more margins is just to flip new items and keep trying new items as you go. Okay, so tip number 3 is going to be more of a long-term. This kind of falls more into the investment category, but it can also be a flip as well. So we're looking at stocking up on some items when they are a good price. Now, this may seem kind of obvious because you're like, oh, obviously I want to buy things when they're a good price because I don't want to spend more money than I have to. But the thing is, though, is a lot of people don't understand that what they could do is they could buy up more than one thing, even if they don't plan on using it, and then selling it when it just goes at a better price. For example, right here, these springs. I was like, you know what? Springs are really cheap. So right now they're about 406 in the Grand Exchange. But when I bought these, I was buying these for like 250 a piece, maybe even a little bit less. And I was just like, these springs are really cheap. I don't really know why they're that cheap. I think the main reason is because they kept on pumping them in the treasure hunter and they kept dropping. And so I was like, okay, seems like a pretty obvious thing. And a worst case scenario, I'll just use them myself. So I decided to buy them up. And obviously I've made quite a good profit on these as I bought 119,000 of them and they are now 400 each and maybe more than that. Looking at the next one's gonna be Rocktail. So this is a really good example of something that a lot of people can really take advantage of, is because when there is not a new boss release, these will go down quite a bit. And you can see that you can actually see them downward trending when there's no PVM releases. And then when there is a PVM release, they will rise in price. Same thing with swordfish and sailfish and stuff like that. It's just whenever there are PVM events that come out, then the PVM supplies rise because people want to go buy them to do PVM. So it's a really great time to buy them when there has not been a release for a little while, and then get rid of them when they skyrocket. You can also use them for yourself though, which is also a pretty good trick. The next thing is going to be mahogany planks. These are just one example of many different things that you can buy for double XP weekend. So what you can do is you can buy these when they are low, which is usually right after double XP weekend or kind of in the middle before the next double XP, and then you can stock up on them. And then when double XP is announced, you can sell them. You can also sell them during the double XP weekend, or sorry, not weekend. It's not a weekend anymore. It's more like a 10-day period. But you can sell them during double XP or at the announcement in order to get some extra money. Now, what I'd recommend though, instead of just wildly picking up all types of items to invest in for double XP, I would pick up some items that you think you might use yourself. Mahogany planks are something that I always use with like my construction dailies and stuff like that. So I will always use these. So in any case of any scenario, I will never, just lose out on money because I'll use them for myself. So that's kind of a good way to keep them in mind. Next thing is going to be these vulnerability bombs. This is a great example of something that you can buy during double XP. So it's kind of the opposite of an item like mahogany planks. You would buy these when there's a double XP because people are making a bunch of these and they go down in price. Later on, they will skyrocket because once there is not as many people making them, people are using vulnerability bombs all the time, so they will jump up in price. Once again, too, when this is kind of linked to the Rocktail thing, when the PVM update comes out, then these will jump up. If you kind of double down on the investment there, you can buy these during an event like double XP and then sell them during a PVM event and kind of make 2 times the profit there. So anyway, it is always a good idea to stock up on stuff when it is low. And sometimes too, if you are just stocking up on some skilling supplies to use for yourself, then you should frequently try to check and see what their current price is, because you could be surprised that you might end up doubling your entire investment. That has definitely happened to me before. I have bought up stuff for herblore one time. I bought a ridiculous amount of herblore supplies and I actually tripled my money on it. So it can happen. All right, so our next tip is going to be looking for item prices that make sense when you do an instant buy, instant sell kind of price check, or maybe just an instant buy price check. And then if the prices don't make any sense, then you need to kind of do stretches because you can obviously make more money there. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I look right here at this woodland foxtail, I bought this item for 21 million and 3,000 gold. So this is a great example of what somebody would buy something at, because I want to offer 21 million, and then I added this 3,123 just so that way I'm not at a flat number. So kind of 2 tips in one here. Instead of offering just a straight out here, I'll actually show you what I'm talking about. Instead of offering just straight out 20 million, because a lot of people will offer a flat number of like 20 million. Instead of doing that, you can beat most of the market. You can beat most of the market to buying the item if you just add something to it. Now you can add 1 GP to it. That's really all it takes in all honesty, or you can add a few GP, or you can be creative and put whatever number you want to. 1, 2, 3. You can put whatever. Okay, sorry, I messed up. It's supposed to be 20 million. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just add something to it so it's not a flat number, and that will give you a better chance of buying the item, and it will beat everyone who is offering a flat number. So when I look back at the sale history though, this is an example of what a buy price should look like. It should look like the flat number with a little bit added to it. And then when it comes to the sell price, once again, I don't want to see you doing something like, I'm going to sell it for 141 million. Nope, you're going to do boop, 1 number off. That way you're selling it for 140,999,999. That way you are beating everybody who is offering it at 140 million. You'd be surprised how many people offer the flat numbers like that, and you will beat all of them. So that is the first half of our tip here. The other half of the tip is how to know when you can stretch it and get more money for your sale or your buy. So if I was to instant buy, and here, there actually is one. Okay, so right here, I instantly bought this woodland fox ear for 142,420,420. Obviously, somebody thought they were going to be funny and put 420, 420. I get it. But the thing is here is this right here is not example of a sell price. You have to remember that when you buy something in the Grand Exchange, then you are buying the item at a price that somebody else put in there. So obviously somebody put in 142, 420, 420. What this number means is that this number is not really a good looking sell price like this. So chances are you can sell this item for more. So what I mean by that is if this is the price you bought it at, 142, 420, 420, then when you put this item back in for sale, then you would probably want to do something like 142 500K, and then you're just going to take that off. The reason why is because 420 420 is just not a good clean buy. I mean, it's not a good clean sell. So that means that yeah, there's just a lot more room there. I'm kind of like repeating myself on that, I guess, but there's just a lot more room. At the same time, where if you were to sell something and then you instantly sold it and it has like a really weird number of like, let's say this number right here. I'm gonna click on that way you can see it easier. Let's say you instantly sold something and this is the number you got. That's not a buy price. That is a sell price, which means that someone put in some weird number, and really what that means is that they are probably paying a lot more than other people that are making smarter numbers like 1.4 million plus this. That would be something you'd want to see on an instant sell. So if I got that original number of 141,399,999, then I would probably actually try to buy the next one at 141 million. If you don't know how an instant buy, instant sell works, and maybe this tip right here kind of went over your head, then check out our Discord down below and go to the flipping school and go to price checking. It'll explain everything and then you'll understand more of what I just said. But anyway, I hope that helped. All right, guys, today, the last tip of the day is going to be for you to do overnight flipping. So I'm going to keep this one short because there are several videos I've released recently where I talked about overnight flipping. So go check out the most recent one if you want to, or any of them that are in the overnight flipping series. But what I would highly recommend, and I cannot express this more, is that when you log out of RuneScape, don't leave your Grand Exchange looking like this. If this is what your Grand Exchange looks like when you log out of the game, then you just lost a lot of money because you potentially could have made a lot of money. Let me just give you a really quick example of how it works, because you can just go watch one of those overnight flipping videos and learn this a lot more in depth. So I'm going to keep it really short. If I was buying woodland foxtails for 21 million during the daytime, like right now, if I'm buying them for 21 million, don't use these prices by the way, because they're not accurate. But if I was paying 21 million and then I was selling them for 24 million and I'm making 3 million per foxtail flip, I'm like, awesome, that's awesome, you know? And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna log out and go to bed. Well, there's not really any reason why you couldn't have done this. You couldn't have done woodland foxtail. I've been paying 21 million for them. But you know, it's gonna be overnight though, so obviously I can wait longer. Let's go a little bit lower. Let's stretch that buy price, and I'm gonna try to buy 10 of them overnight, and then boom, confirm offer, and I just leave that offer in overnight. And then when I wake up in the morning, then potentially I've bought 2, 4, 6 of them, however many of them has bought, and then I can go back in and flip them in for sale at 24 million a piece, and I will make all that profit. Now, obviously the woodland foxtail is not the best example for this because this is an item that is kind of volatile right now. The price keeps on changing. But if you have something a little bit more stable, like for example, a rocktail, for example, you could put in an offer for them for 1,900 to buy them overnight, and then in the morning sell them for 2,032 and make some good profit that way. That's a lot more stable item. Obviously pick a stable item for that overnight buy unless you want the high risk here. But that's what you can do in all 8 of your slots. If you go to sleep like this or log out of RuneScape like this, then you can log back into a whole bunch of free money. It's literally just a ton of profit that you have made by doing literally nothing. Anyway, that is how overnight flipping works. If you guys want more in depth on that, then watch the overnight flipping series, and then also check out, once again, in the flipping school in the Discord down below, and it will explain to you literally how to do overnight flipping in much more in depth. Anyway, guys, I really hope this video was helpful for you. If you guys have questions about this or you want to see more videos like this, then leave in the comment down below. You can check out the Patreon page down below and our Discord of 13,000 people like I mentioned, and support the channel. If you're not making 3 billion or more per month, then check out that Patreon, support the channel, keep the lights on for me, and start making 3 billion a month right now. Anyway, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good